Hey guys, James here from TCG University, coming back at you with another deck profile. Today, I'm showing you my Voldo deck. I had a lot of fun playing this. He's a lot better than I think the community thinks he is. Or I think the community is severely scared of Purefart. But I don't think you should be. I think this deck was very fun, even though it is our Budget Beast Season 3 build. I thought this was very fun to play. It was very consistent, oddly enough. It has a few flaws. It was missing a little damage pump, but I don't get to play Downward Spiral. It's not budget enough, you know. But like it has a lot more options than I think people are giving it credit for. So let's get into the profile and I'll show you what I mean. Okay, guys. Voldo is a 7-hand sized 19 vitality character with Chaos, Death, and Void. We are playing our deck under Void today. He has two abilities. E, once per turn, you can remove one card from your hand. Your opponent chooses one attack in your discard pile and adds it to your hand. So you automatically get at least one attack on top of whatever else you have in your hand during the turn, as long as you get to play one attack. So you automatically have two attacks every turn, which is pretty cool. Remove after the combat phase begins. Your opponent chooses one attack in your discard pile. And for the rest of the turn, whenever you play a card with the shows a name with that card, your opponent discards one card. This is very strong defensively because you get to force your opponent to discard on blocks. They'll choose your attack. Has a cool block on it. You block with it. They discard a card. Really cool. It works well on offense because we add cards to our hand, not just with him, but with other things. And it really makes it to where we can discard multiple cards from our opponent's hand during a turn, which was also very cool. Our deck is centered around discarding a bunch of cards, but also trying to consistently just have hand control while playing defense. So let's get into the rest of this. Put this right here. Ooh, just a slightly. There we go. Okay. So the first attack I want to talk about is Macabre Skier. Macabre Skier is a 4 mid for 3, 5 diff. E, remove one card from your hand. Your opponent chooses one attack in your discard pile. Add the chosen attack to your hand. Add the chosen card to your hand. And then if the chosen card has the weapon keyword, your next check gets +2. All the attacks in our deck are weapon. I built the deck purposely. There's one other card that interacts with it, with things being directly weapon. But I noticed most of the things I was going to play already had weapon on it, so I kind of filled in with a couple other things that weren't directly functional with the way things worked, but worked well enough with how budget we wanted, and just offsetedly, kind of just offhandedly worked. But it's just a 4 mid for 3. Like I said during the intro, the deck's really lacking damage. It really needs that downward spiral, in my opinion, or some solid damage pump you can consistently do. But I did find that it was really fun having these low poke things that I could throw and not worry about our opponent wanting to block, especially when they're safe. Our opponent can't get any advantage from reversaling, so they just take 3 damage, and it's like, okay, I'm okay. I'm all right with that, you know? Okay. The next attack we're going to talk about is the card that was basically, like I said, the throwaway card. I had to play a weapon. I wanted to do something. This functioned way better than I thought it did. It's a 4 for. It's a rapid speed slash. It's a 4 for 4. It's a 1 mid breaker 1 EX3 and weapon. Enhanced, you can draw a card or add the top card of your deck to your momentum, and it's only playable if you have at least one momentum. Basically, because this card doesn't do a whole lot if you don't have momentum, people often choose it, but like. I was often chosen, but like one of the strong points is if they do choose it on defense, it's a 1 mid with breaker 1. So like if you fix your discard pile and they're forced to choose this, you get to breaker 1 them, force them to discard, and which is really cool. And then like you can Voldo pick up another one, force them to discard again by blocking if you already had one in hand. You get to do some really cool, unique things, as well as for all these 3 damage attacks that just never hit or never get blocked. They usually just go to our momentum, and then you can just go, I'll add another one. EX3, I'll ditch all this momentum. Cool. Minimum like six more speed, which is pretty cool. Making it a 10 low for 4 that you know you can push through is really neat. And if needed, you could just draw a card. Like I said, one of the second hand things for the deck is trying to keep hand advantage and keep up with our opponent and making sure that they don't really get to hit us. Next, we'll get into the second card that I said interact with weapons, which is Elegant Death Rose. It's a 5 high for 4. 2 high block, Desperation 3, Fury, Safe, and Weapon. That Desperation part's going to matter because the last 3 attacks, counting this one, all have Desperation, and they're all Desperation 3, which is nuts, and they all have very good abilities. Elegant Death Rose, like I said, is a 5 for 4. E, your opponent chooses one attack in your discard pile. This attack Oh, sorry. Gets +1 damage for each keyword on the chosen card. And if it's a weapon, your opponent is forced to discard. Meaning everything being a weapon, our opponent discards 1 card, works with the style of the deck, and then we get plus damage. The lowest in our deck is 2 with our Mob Strike. We'll talk about that in a minute. And our highest is Elegant Death Rose being 4. So we can max have an 8 damage, minimum have a 6, which is very, very good. As well as just contributing to that discard stuff. On to continuing, we have 4 Mob Strike. Mob Strike is a 4 high for 4, Desperation 3 weapon. Enhance, you discard 1 card, being a 7-hander. That's not a huge thing. We just get rid of like our foundations or whatever. And then our opponent discards 1 random card, and then we both draw a card. So basically, we cycle a card in our hand, and we randomly force our opponent to cycle a card in their hand. So if they're holding a really good block for our attacks for later, we can randomly get rid of it, which is really cool. And then if our opponent has discard this turn, we can just draw a card. So if we don't want to discard anything, or force our opponent to discard, we can just draw a card if we've already forced our opponent to discard, which is pretty neat. This card also gets selected a lot with Voldo, just because it doesn't do a whole lot, like offensively, so nobody really has to worry about it. On to the last attack, which I thought was very, very good. Ore Strike. Oddly enough, this card's not expensive, so budget builds get to play it. Ore Strike is a 5/2, 4 low for 7, Desperation 3 weapon, and Taunt. I love that it has Taunt. I actually really do. We'll never use the Deadlucky, or at least I never got to play the Deadlucky. Your opponent just discards 3 cards. Never came to the moment. Then E, draw X cards. X equals the number of cards your opponent has discarded this turn. Between Mob Strike, Voldo, Elegant Death Rose, and all the other cards we have in our deck. Our opponent, I think max I drew 4, minimum I always drew 2, which is very cool. Having a +2 on anything is really nice. And this is our big beater of the deck. It's a 7 damage, 4 low. Like it's our big damage in the deck. So like it puts in work. On to continuing with stuff that interacts with our discard or the functionality of our discard. We have 1 Pilot of the River Styx. Pilot of the River Styx is a 3/5, 3 high block. Has 2 abilities that are only playable if our opponent is discarded, which is very easy for us. R, commit, after your attack deals damage, your opponent loses 2 vitality. And then R, remove, after a non-character responsibility is played, cancel it. They're only playable when you... I only have 1 of it because they're only playable when you force your opponent to discard. Which is, like I said, isn't too hard, but being a 3 diff wasn't really worth it when we're playing when we're playing 4/2s as our main thing. Same thing, we're playing 3/3s, by the way. Same thing with Esoteric Yoga. Esoteric Yoga is unique, so we're only playing 1 of it. It's a 3/6, 2 high block. We can destroy it to give -4 speed, playable while committed. And then respond commit, after your opponent adds any number of cards to their hand due to their effect, they discard 1. This is just mainly for after we discard their entire hand with Voldo or do some cool tricks or whatnot. They don't just get to auto add the card, draw a card. We can just make sure that their hand size stays down. 1 A Soul in Purgatory. It's a 3/5, 3 high block. Again, we play a bunch of 2, so we're only trying to play 1 of each of these. The only ability we care about on this is E, commit, discard 2 cards from discard 2 cards. Your opponent discards 1, so we get rid of 2 trash cards in our hand and force our opponent to discard 1, which contributes to our Ore Strike and all that, which is pretty neat. The other abilities are flip. After your opponent plays an attack, you get to play the first enhance during the enhance step, which is also really cool, but I never came into a moment where I needed to use that. We're playing 1 for Mother Russia. This is mainly for the E commit. After your opponent adds 1 or more cards to their hand, they add 1 card from their hand to their card pool face down. This just counters draw and stuff like that. Like I said, we're discarding their entire hand. We don't want them getting it back. Because we're discarding a bunch, we are playing 4 Aerial Recon. Aerial Recon is a 2/4, 2 mid block that says once per turn, after your opponent discards a card during the combat phase, you get to ready this foundation. It just means it just kind of protects us from checking bad on our attack turns and whatnot. And the last card in our deck that functions with the discard mechanic is Voice of Reason. Just enhance once per turn. It's a nice spam. It's a nice spam. Enhance once per turn. Both players discard 1 card, draw 1 card. It's a nice hand cycler. Works for us. Works for our combo to make sure our opponent discards. Just all around pretty okay. Now we'll get into more functionality with Voldo specifically. We're playing 4 Guardian's Final Duty. This one is E, discard momentum, remove up to 5 cards from in your discard pile from the game. So we can get rid of attacks if we need to, just to make sure Voldo picks up what he needs, stuff like that. And then E, remove, discard this attack, only playable if you have more removed from play cards in your removed from game pile than your opponent, which is very easy to do because we're removing with Voldo and we're removing with a couple of his attacks as well. Because it's not really a full fleshing deck, I don't get to play Mason Downward Spiral. I don't get to try and do cool combos. I never got into a moment where I needed this to the bottom ability trigger to remove 5, but there were a couple of times where I got to use the top one, so that's pretty cool. I think it was well worth it, especially on like a budget build, to have it in our deck. We're playing 4, reporting his failures. We mainly play this for the E flip. Add 3 cards from your discard pile to the bottom of your deck. This just means we have 4 attacks in our discard pile. Shuffle 3, put 3 of them at the bottom of our deck. Add the other one with Voldo. Have a clear discard pile, not to worry about anything. Stuff like that. Add the one that they picked with Voldo, you know. 4, recovering lost treasures. It's a 1/5/3 low block E flip. Discard 1 card. Shuffle 1 card from your discard pile into your deck. Your next check to play a card gets +2. We draw a bunch of cards in our deck. I'm trying to keep hand advantage, obviously. So on our kill turns, we can get rid of those cards we don't need, give +2 on our check, and add another card, add an attack from our discard pile to our deck, and try to get Voldo off. It's very cool. It's a nice span too. Now we're on to the defense of the deck. We're playing 1 Damnation. Cancels things that enhance could stop us. We just don't want to deal with it. Cool enhances, just get rid of them. And, you know, Tam hates this card. We're playing 4 TK Mastery. Just check a 6. Anytime a speed or damage pump gets activated or gets added to a card, just get rid of it, basically. Just playing defense the best we can with the cards in our deck. 4 Conquest of Terror for our speed hate. This card is cheaper than Feifei. So that was the reason I chose this one over that. I think Feifei is just a little better than this card in my opinion. But that's just me. It's a 1/5/2 low block that says E flip. This attack is -2 speed, but also has the ability to E commit if your opponent's at desperation. Give an attack +2 speed or -4 speed. So if our opponent's at desperation, it could work out for us. But other than that, it's just a flip for -2 speed. But it has a nice 2 low block. We have 4 Uniting Rebels. Uniting Rebels is a 0/6/3 mid block. Desperation E, gain a life once per turn. It just means if we ever do get hit into desperation, we can try to stay above it a little bit. Trying to make sure we're out of a kill range. And the last 2 cards in the deck are Winter Rose. Winter Rose was basically added in just because like I kind of went just a little too far in my deck and I kind of had to cut a couple things and bring it back in. But I still need to fill out 60 cards in my deck. But Winter Rose also fills a position of being a 0/6/2 low block. Has a nice block. Checks very well. Nice spam if we ever need it. Can't be flipped by our opponent's effect, so we don't have to worry about that. And then if our opponent ever does try to flip our cards, we just get to gain a life. Just meaning we get to extend our 19 health, especially when we're already trying to play very defensively. Thanks for checking out the profile, guys. If you liked my Voldo deck, let me know down below. Let me know what you guys think about the other deck profiles on the list. If you want to catch the Campus Championship live, make sure to go to twitch.tv/TCUniversity every Tuesday at 6 p.m. Central. We have a fun time hanging out with you guys. Josh Hills did a bunch of music for us this week that we're going to use future. So shout out to that guy. He's a cool dude. If you want to talk to me about my Voldo deck, message me directly. Like I said, leave a comment. If you want to, you can talk to us on our Discord. It's $1 on Patreon. You get access not only to our Discord where you can talk to us, talk to everybody else on our Discord and whatnot. You get access to all of our content early. You get access to our content live. And if you guys can't, don't worry about it. It does all go out a week later. Well, most of it goes out a week later. So don't worry about that. So as always, guys, stay learned.